All right, I hope everyone is doing well. So let's break this trade down, starting with the higher time frames right here. So as you guys remember, what we are trading in right here is a market maker buy model on the daily time frame. So we covered literally all the smallest details regarding the original consolidation, sell side of the curve that we've been trading towards this monthly time frames, consequent encroachment right here. So we've been looking for sells, then price eventually bottomed out and started pushing to the upside, giving us this clear and strong bullish order flow right here. So overall, once we saw that shift, once price started building, this is when we started focusing on the buy side of the curve, looking for long opportunities. So after this massive expansion right here, obviously what we started waiting for was for some potential pullbacks. And you can see that overall what we had here was a clear and simple bear trap. Price ran buy side liquidity, ran sell side liquidity into bullish imbalance, and continues to the upside right here towards the buy side liquidity, nearing us a tiny market or buy model in the middle right here that would be clearly visible from the lower time frames. So overall, from the daily time frame perspective, we wanted to see a tiny bit deeper pullback right here, a bit more of the sell side of the curve right here, giving us a bigger 4-hour type of market maker model. Instead, we can see that it gave us just a couple downside candles after the monthly April candle formed, and the quarterly candle, of course, gave a tiny wick right here, expanded lower, and then left this wick pushing to the upside now. So this is how it's looking from the higher time frames. Now, talking about the position where we took it, we don't have much to discuss here from the daily time frame perspective, as it was a scalp play. It wasn't a classic buy day. Even though we're here opening on this day on 8th of April, what we focused on was a bullish buy day, looking for long on kill zone low, the day near kill zone continuation. However, as you guys saw, we didn't get that as price was messing around after forming long on kill zone high. So obviously what we started then focusing on was other potential liquidity pools, so that will be all visible from the lower time frames and 15-minute. So from the daily perspective, all that we were doing right here after price gave this massive expansion, ran this buy side liquidity. Remember that we are in late stages of this higher time frame market maker buy model right here. Another drawn liquidity that we are focusing on regarding the upside is the previous week's highs. So all that we traded right here on this day to the downside was a very quick in and out scalp type of position, nothing more. So let's now drop to the lower time frames right here. So this is the 1-hour time frame. So for you guys to see what we are trading here. Now, once price ran lower here, running all the sell side liquidity, running into bullish higher time frame PDAs, what we started talking about right away was that this low, if it stays, what we will see here is a potential lower time frame market maker model in alignment with the higher time frame market maker model. So this is exactly why we have it written here, 15-minute market maker models, original consolidation. So what we had here was sell side of the curve, and now we are seeing buy side of the curve. Just that on the buy side of the curve, you can see that we saw a lot of choppy price action. Now, the reason for that is very, very simple, because right here, what we had was MFP Friday, and after MFP Fridays, what we usually get is a lot of choppy price action before price eventually settles down and starts picking a clear direction, starts building, giving clear order flow, and so on. So in this case, what we saw here on Monday was price running higher, running some buy side liquidity here into this 1-hour BPR, bearish imbalance filled with bullish imbalance. Notice that it had one rejection right here as well. So price ended up dropping to the downside, left a lot of sell side liquidity right here, and then started pulling back during the Asia range. So overall, this type of development wasn't in alignment with us looking for a buy side of the curve here, because this whole formation here on Monday looked pretty bearish to me. So opening here on Tuesday, what again we wanted to see ideally, if we would completely cross out all this price action as we opened this far away from the Asia ranges lower here. So what we had was a pretty large Asia range. Notice that it was 72 pips, so that's just massive one. So what we wanted to see was simple isolation. Price running this buy side liquidity right here, dropping lower, running sell side liquidity from this range right here, and then leading a sharp low, taking out the high. So this is where we would have seen a clear, strong structure isolating all of the sell side liquidity. Even though we had some tiny S&T right here, it still was a very clearly visible liquidity pool. Notice how low volume all of this PM hour window looked like. So again, what we wanted to have is a clear, sharp structure here, price running sell side and blasting to the upside, giving us a clear dealing range for us to start looking for potential buy side of the curve here on the lower time frames. But we didn't get that. And instead, what we saw was very similar type of development to what we saw yesterday. And I'm talking about on Monday. So notice price runs Asia range into bearish beta race. So on Monday, it was BPR. On Tuesday, right here, it was bearish, or the block right here from Monday. It rejects it, gives this sharp candle to the downside, leaving a very clear fair value gap. So once that started happening, we saw that we most likely about to see a simple continuation, something that we saw right here on Monday. Nothing major, just a quick position, because again, we are blowing against the wind, we are pushing against the main direction, which is from the higher time frames and lower time frames is very clearly to the upside as you are trading in the higher time frame market maker buy model as well as the lower time frame market maker buy model. So all that we wanted to see is price tag this sell side liquidity and take out this sell side liquidity right here with this quick expansion. So now dropping to the 15-minute time frame, this is what we saw, and this was our position right here. So having all this short-term pressure to the downside regarding the 1 hour and 15-minute price giving long when close on high of the day, near close on continuation on Tuesday right here, we expected exactly that to happen once we saw this whole price action take place. So again, in the morning, what we wanted to see was a classic buy day, price running this sell side liquidity here and then blasting very sharply to the upside, leaving a London kill zone strong structure right here. So that was our ideal plan, and then looking for potential longs to the upside. But now as price didn't give us that, and then eventually it took out this London kill zone low during London lunch, this was the sign that we are not going to get a classic buy day, which is again, a classic buy day is when we have a daily direction and then we get a London kill zone low the day on the lower time frames, and that's where we can expect a near kill zone continuation to take place. So once London lunch took out London kill zone low right here, this is where for the New York kill zone, we had to adjust our sales. And what I'm talking about is that we already knew that we are not going to get our classic buy day because we are not going to have London kill zone low of the day from this point anymore. So once price started pulling back in this corrective type of behavior, leaving sell side liquidity right here, knowing that we are sitting right above this sell side liquidity pool, what again we did, we adjusted our sales and these started looking for a potential simple continuation exactly to what we saw here on Monday as well. Simple drop, simple continuation, moving right here during near kill zone towards sell side liquidity. So this is exactly what we focused on right here. So if we zoom in, it was a pretty clear and simple price action. Price forms high right here, drops lower, leaves some potential inducement, leaves a London lunch low, starts forming some sell side liquidity right here, runs the buy side liquidity into bearish beta race, runs into the equilibrium of this dealing range here from the 15-minute point of view, which is noted right here, as well as the OT level here. That was nicely lining up with the 30-minute bearish order block. We also had this bearish 15-minute fair value gap here as well. So overall, I think you guys can see that we had quite a lot of bearish beta race aligning in this general area. So what we wanted to see was price to actually start pushing away from this area now. As we didn't have any clear, strong, low structures like that here on the 15-minute time frame, we didn't need to wait for price to take some of them out before pulling back. So all that we needed was clear rejection, and we got here with this candle showing first signs of reaction, leaving this wick right here. Then we had another bearish reaction to the downside. So this was the point where I started first. So to look for potential intimations to the downside. So as price reacted firstly to this fair value gap here, to the upside right here, noted that it runs into this tiny bullish fair value gap and reacts to the upside. What I wanted to see was for price to drop lower and retest it as inverse fair value gap. So exactly that happened. So for it to be crystal clear, let's drop to the execution timeframes now. So what we had from the execution timeframe point of view was a nice and simple market maker someone over here. Another very strong additional factor was the fact that price left this high during the early window when we do expect near kill zone to give us those key reversal points, key structures that we will want to trade away from. So this reversal, as you can see, happened at 8:40 a.m. So that's just perfect. So overall, then price started pushing away. Again, I wasn't too keen about looking for a pullback right here to take shorts because, again, price from the 15-minute point of view, we had this bullish fair value gap and price rejected it to the upside. So now what I wanted to see is price dropping lower and using it as resistance. And we got exactly that. So this was just perfect type of delivery. What we also had was this bearish order blow here from the 15-minute point of view. And I'm talking about this candle over here. So price didn't reach the open, but the log, it was nicely aligning within the fair value gap here. So this was my entry. Once price gave this reaction right here, leaving this tiny wick, I was fully convinced that we are about to see this continuation to the downside, trading towards the original consolidation of this execution time frame market maker sell model, this being the buy side of the curve. Price topped out and found the sell side of the curve. Last and final target being all of this massive sell side liquidity pool right here. So I think you guys can see how price nice went just a few pips below our final target, 12 pips below, and then it started blasting to the upside. So our scalp targets right here, we are absolutely on point. Talking about management, once price gave this push to the downside around this area right here, what I did, I moved my stop loss to around this level here, not fully to break even. I wanted to cover a bit more right here in case price pulls back again and then drops. So to not be stopped out too early, I wanted to play it a little bit more safe. But overall, regarding the management, I was still kind of aggressive because I usually remove risk with my first partials. In this case, I didn't do that because, again, it was a scalp position. It wasn't a classic sell day, let's say, type of thing. Even though we had a long on kills on high of the day, near kills on continuation, our daily bias, our daily vision from the daily time frame point of view was to the upside. So if lower time frames give a long on kills on high of the day, near kills on continuation, it doesn't matter. It wasn't a classic sell day. It was a simple scalp day right here, as we were blowing against the daily time frames wind. So that's the main factor to keep in mind. So once price after that continued pushing to the downside and reached original consolidation of this execution time frame market maker sell model fractal right here, this is where I closed 80% of my position at this point right here, and it happened slightly above it. As you guys know, I don't really wait for price to last through the level. Once it reached this close right here, this is where I locked in 80% of profit. Then after that, moving stop loss completely to break even, and then we simply waited patiently, and you can see that soon after price just dropped lower, reaching our full target. So I think you guys can see that even though it was a scalp play, we have many things aligning right here. From the 1 hour, showing clear bearish pressure right here regarding the order flow, and what I'm talking about is bearish PD raise, price rejecting them very clearly, running some buy side liquidity and continuing to the downside. In this case, for this trade, you can see how nicely price was rejecting this 1 hour bearish fair value gap. So we had this confluence as price closed nicely, leaving this high wick right here, showing reactions to the downside. So that's great. From the 15-minute point of view, we had loss of bearish PD raise. We had this bullish fair value gap. Price reacted higher, dropped lower, showing signs of bearish momentum. And when it pulled back with this candle right here, what we had on the execution timeframes was a very clear entry. And once price reacted again off of this 15-minute inverse fair value gap, now as it was broken, this was enough for me to just simply enter the position, going with pretty conservative stop loss right here in case price starts pulling back deeper before it drops. And after that, it didn't give us any headache as it started melting right to our targets right here. So that is all regarding this trade. I hope it was insightful, and we will talk very soon. Take care.